If you're into cute animated cops, I've got a series for you, Burn Up. This was recommended by Jose Ramirez. Thank you for the recommendation. This one's for you. Now, Jose had actually recommended Burn Up W, but I couldn't just watch Burn Up W. No, I had to dive into the entire franchise. So we're going to be talking about 2 OVAs and 2 series in this video. Starting at the beginning with the original Burn Up. This came out in 1991. This was like a 45-minute OVA movie. And I'm going to say the same thing that I always say about all of these short OVA movies. I just wanted more, but I really enjoyed it. This movie follows a small group of police officers, mostly female police officers, and they're trying to take down this human trafficking organization. It's very dark, very heavy subject matter, but somehow the overall tone of the movie is very lighthearted and silly. It's kind of this cool blend between just very silly, very lovable, energetic characters involved in a very, very serious and troubling scenario. It's set in the future, apparently, where Rambo 12 is in the movie theaters, and one of the characters accidentally walks into like what looks like the cantina from Star Wars. It's hilarious. There's a lot of funny stuff up in here, but it has this balance because the next scene you're seeing some really disturbing stuff going on here with these, slave traders kidnapping young women and selling them. And of course, it's up to our heroes to put an end to this and take down the bad guys, save the women in peril. And very cool movie though. It's got that, early 90s animation. Everything's hand drawn in the cars, and the vehicles look so cool. There's a lot of cool car chases and motorcycle chases and gunfights and action scenes. It's all very exciting and it's all very hilarious as well. If you liked Gunsmith Cats, I think you'll really like this. In fact, I see the connection now. Jose Ramirez was commenting on my Gunsmith Cats video. Definitely something along those lines here. Cute girls with guns, taking down bad guys. Very fun and lighthearted, except when it's not. Alright. Again, very short movie, so I'm not going to say too much else about it. Just go watch it. It's good. 5 years later, in 1996, we got sort of a reboot of sorts. Burn Up W. And this is a 4-episode OVA series, and this is probably it seems to be the most famous, the most well-known in the whole franchise. I really enjoyed this one as well. It was jarring going into this right after the first one because the animation style is so different. It's so exaggerated and it looks nothing like the style of the original. Also, the characters are different, kind of similar character archetypes, but they're a fully new cast of characters. So instead of Maki, the blonde-haired girl, you have Rio, the blonde-haired girl. And the thing is, with this series, we start to see more and more of their personalities come out. That's one thing I really enjoyed about this. We just had no time to get to know the characters in the original one. This time around, Rio is the blonde leader. She's kind of loud and obnoxious sometimes. She has a good heart though. She's got a shopping addiction and she's always broke. And instead of Raimi, the dark-haired friend from the earlier one, now we have Maya, the green-haired girl, and she's like a gun freak. Not only does she love guns, she gets way too excited and passionate about guns to the point where she kind of loses her mind if she doesn't get to shoot something after a while. We have another pink-haired girl, but instead of Yuka, now we have Lilica, who is like a computer hacker and stuff like that, so she kind of stays behind at the office and does her thing. Very bubbly personality. And then in the original, we had the sole male member of the team, Kenji, and he had a romantic relationship with Maki, the blonde-haired girl in the original. Well, now we have Yuji, but now he's sort of in love with Rio, but she kind of just uses him for favors and for work and stuff like that and doesn't really appreciate him. She kind of leaves him hanging there. But also this time around, Yuji is just a big old pervert. So there's that. He's definitely more comic relief this time around than the, serious love interest. And yeah, there's not too much that's serious about this, at least for the first half of the series. This show is just over the top. It's ridiculous. The first episode has them going after this group of terrorists who are holding hostages in a building. They are just stupid terrorists and they have crazy demands, and it involves Rio eventually bungee jumping naked from a helicopter. Yeah. It's a fan servicey series. This whole franchise is. Yeah, it's very goofy, very silly, over the top. It still has some great action scenes though. has some very cool action scenes, very stylish. Episode 3 is just silly as usual, and Rio's broke again, and she's trying to sell her used underwear. It's ridiculous, but then halfway through that episode, things get serious. Things finally get serious up through episode 4, the end of the series. We see this crazy showdown. A lot of blood, a lot of people die. It gets intense, it gets dark, and it's so unexpected and so sudden because this whole series was just so silly, off the wall, goofy, humorous. And now it's like, oh, dang, people are dying. Our heroes are getting brutally beaten up. What's gonna happen? I'm not gonna tell you what happens. However, not to worry, because Burn Up W continues on. A year later, it got its own full series with 13 episodes. And this was the highlight for me. I really fell in love with this whole franchise right around the time I finished W and went into XS, which is the next series. Burn Up XS ran from 1997 to 1998, and it's a direct sequel to W. It has all the same characters. We just get to see more of them, and we get to see them in more goofy situations. Every episode they're tackling some other bad guy, some other case. Rio's still having money problems and trying to take on extra work all the time, and she can barely afford noodles, if that. And so we really get to see more of these characters. Also, like Nanval, who didn't get a lot of screen time in W. I forgot to talk about her because she wasn't in it that much, but I really like this character. She is a mechanic. She builds robots and machines and things. In fact, W had this really hilarious Evangelion parody where she builds this Ava unit basically, and it doesn't work out well for her, but it's too funny. There's another Ava parody in Burn Up XS. Lots of humor, lots of good times, just silly episodic stuff, until, once again, at the end, things get very heavy and very serious. This is like a Burn Up tradition all of a sudden. It's like super lighthearted, fun, action comedy, fan service show, and then, out of nowhere, things get real dark and gruesome. And man, I love it. I really love it. So I can't complain about wanting more Burn Up W because we were blessed with a continuation of a whole season in XS. That's what we got here, and I highly recommend it. You know, if you don't want to watch the whole series, start with W and then go on to XS if you liked it. So by the end of XS, I am fully invested in this franchise. I love these characters. And then, then in 2004, we got Burn Up Scramble, and I was very let down. Once again, we have a very different art style here, and once again it was very jarring going from W and XS into Scramble. Now here's the thing, if I had watched Scramble when it came out when I was younger, and if I hadn't seen the other Burn Ups, I probably would have loved it. You know, it's not a bad show, but coming off of the other ones when I just loved the characters and everything about it so much, I just had a really hard time getting into or enjoying this series. This is another reboot. It's not a continuation. It has different characters using the same names, but the characters have changed a lot. Rio is still here, but she's not really a shopping addict, obsessed with fashion or anything like that. This time she is sort of like a hopeless romantic. She has problems, you know, finding the right guy, and she's kind of obsessed with that. She's very superstitious, always looking at horoscopes and trying to find good luck and all this, and it's okay, it's just not the old Rio. Maya is totally different. She's still the gun expert, but she's not so hot-headed and lively and loud. She's just kind of reserved. She looks like a kid almost. It's really weird how they redesigned her whole character, but that's okay. She's just kind of the strong, silent type who's good with guns. And then Lilica, who was the bubbly, pink-haired computer hacker girl in the last series. Now she is this orange-haired girl with psychic powers. Yeah, for some reason she has psychic powers, and she's being held prisoner by the boss because they think she's dangerous to be let loose, or because they just want to use her, and it all feels very messed up. It's just very sad the way her character went, but she's got these psychic powers and she becomes friends with Rio and Maya over time. Nanval is nowhere to be seen in this. Yuji is actually their superior in this. He's a higher up in the force, and he has a girlfriend who loves him, but he doesn't really like her. He's really in love with Rio, and Rio doesn't like him. It's a sort of awkward pseudo love triangle going on, and it works out in a funny way because his girlfriend's always super jealous of Rio, and Rio wants nothing to do with it, and he's always bothering her, and somehow they always manage to cross paths in a silly way. But it's an okay show. It's not bad. It's just I liked the other ones so much, the other versions so much, that this one felt like a letdown. It does a lot of the same things that the other series did, just in a new setting with new characters, and towards the end, in true Burn Up fashion, it does get very serious, it does get very dark, and I have mixed feelings about the ending. Didn't enjoy any of it as much as its previous versions. This was the low point in the series for me. It had its moments, I laughed some here and there, but still a low point for me. Anyways, and that's pretty much all we got for Burn Up. 2 OVAs and 2 full series. There were some manga adaptations, and as of now, it's been almost 20 years since the last iteration of Burn Up Scramble in 2004, so is it time for a reboot? Another reboot of Burn Up? I would love to see it. You know, I was looking up this show and some other cop anime from back in the day. I always meant to watch You're Under Arrest, for example, and I was just noticing, I was reading people talking about this stuff online, like what happened to these old buddy cop shows, and now everything's just an isekai. I don't know, everything seems so samey in some sort, and I'm sounding like an old man, old weeb here. I like modern anime, I do. I'm so tired of everything being an isekai though. Everything's like fantasy setting, isekai, or I don't know, man. I don't know. I would like to see some more real life stuff, just some more action and comedy stuff in different scenarios. I don't know, that's just me. Anyways, I'm rambling on and on, but yeah, Burn Up. Great series, great franchise, definitely worth checking out. That's all. Thanks again to Jose Ramirez for the recommendation. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching today. Let me know if you have any recommendations for me. Take care. Have a good one. See you next time.